Well, good hump day morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open to business here. Whew. And let's wake up those football gods. Guys, please, and Stewart, smile down on the Dallas Cowboys. Woo! Okay, I'm going to do something that it still probably shouldn't do that, and that's talk about playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about playoffs a little bit here. I think we're going to make the playoffs. And this is actually maybe a good thing. You know, at some point you have to get the monkey off your back. The Dallas Cowboys are kind of the reverse of last year, at least so far. We still have 6 games to figure it out, and we still have 5 days and a couple hours until Odell Beckham Jr. comes in for a visit. We'll see if that happens and helps the team achieve a little bit more and make the offense, which is the number one offense at the moment, that much better. But the Cowboys right now, to me, it looks like, and things could change, but looking at the Giants, of course, are going to go through the circular firing squad of playing the Commanders, the Eagles, and Washington. I don't see them being able to go through that, and unless the Cowboys have a complete collapse and catching us. Washington, they're, several games behind us, and at the moment we own the tiebreaker with them. I don't see them being able to jump up and get into the wild card spot ahead of us. And Seattle, I don't see being able, who's lost 2 games in a row. So you look at this and say, if the Cowboys pretty much just coast, even if they lose a couple of games, will probably be the number 5 seed. We know that nobody in the NFC North is going to go ahead and get a better record than the 8-3 record that the Cowboys currently have. The next, the Bears? I mean, Green Bay, they're on life support. They're like 4-7. The NFC South, Tampa Bay is leading it at 5-6. Nobody in the NFC South, is going to catch the Cowboys. And then you got the NFC West. You have the Seattle Seahawks that are beginning to fade right now. They dropped out of actually the 7th spot. They were leading their division and would have had the 3rd seed, but have since kind of fallen on bad times. The lack of talent and things are beginning to catch up to them. So you can almost look at the Cowboys being pretty much locked in as the number 5 seed. And looking at the same logic here, unless we win our division, which, it's going to be hard. The Eagles, they've done what they were supposed to do. They're winning games and stuff. This is the toughest stretch probably for them, having the Giants, which may be healthy. They look like they're getting 7 of their players back. And then you've got the Titans in there, and then you got the Bears. You have teams that can run the football, which is the Achilles heel for for the Eagles. It is possible they lose some. If we do not end up overtaking the Eagles, then that's where we're going to be pretty much locked. So it's either going to be the Eagles or us winning the division, most likely. Of course, Minnesota's going to win theirs. And it looks like, of course, the 49ers are beginning to catch their stride, and they're going to win probably their division now that Seattle is kind of falling by the wayside. And then there's little old Tampa Bay with an unknown quarterback in Tom Brady, which currently is 5-6, leading their division, will be the number 4 seed. And the way the playoffs go, that would be the number 4 seed playing the number 5 seed. That would be us going to Tampa Bay to place Tom Brady, a guy who we have never beaten. It would be the opportunity to do something that we haven't done before. and maybe get the playoff monkey off our back. For a while there, I was like, oh, man, I hope Atlanta can kind of overtake them, we don't have to face Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, because much like Green Bay just doesn't make sense to us. On paper, we should have destroyed Green Bay, but yet somehow bad things always happen to us at Lambeau Field and against Aaron Rodgers. The Packers played like world beaters against us. They go back to being ass last week. Can't figure it out. And that's the way it's been with Tom Brady. But this time, maybe it'll be different. And unlike last year, where we kind of started going downhill as the season went on because we started getting all of our injuries, we are the complete polar opposite of it, because now, we got Michael Gallup back, who's beginning to get into his stride. He's getting stronger. We've gotten Zeke back, and Zeke, after having the injury, he looked like a young man again last week. Our offensive line, instead of losing Tyron Smith, we're at the point of maybe getting Tyron Smith back. And even adding more firepower with possibly Odell Beckham Jr. So you look at this and say the Cowboys are going and getting better as opposed to the reverse last year. And the great thing about this year is we actually have a two-headed monster at running back that is actually really making some noise. You don't think of the Dallas Cowboys as one of the better running teams in football. You believe and think that the Eagles, oh, man, they're doing so much damage on the ground. The Cowboys are actually doing and getting more yards per carry than the Eagles are, believe it or not. And if people can figure out how to stop the quarterback draw, if you can corral Jalen Hurts, you'll win that game. But I've actually got to get out of here this morning and get down the road through the rain. Tomorrow's going to be a big day because we're getting electricity. The power company is coming over to hook up the electricity at the Red Brick House, which will be a major, major step for us. And so I'm going to be getting out of here early. But I want to go to Rich Eisen and listen to his take on the playoff landscape.
Those phrase that I'm referring to right now is that the season always begins on Thanksgiving, and I understand what he always means by that, because now is where rubber meets the road. All of your plans from mini camp and training camp, and even in this day and age where there's not a lot of hitting in training camp, and then there's one fewer preseason game, which leads to more and more offenses taking more games than usually necessary to get moving and get more on the same page, and all the phrases that you hear in the NFL. Now's the time. Like, we now know who needs to do what. We now know who hasn't done enough of something. We now know which teams have already proven themselves. And now, when the weather gets colder and the windows get tighter, it's time to play some winning football. And the matchups that, say, if these Week 13 matchups happen in Week 2, we'd have been like, all right, this is pretty good. Maybe some higher register ones, or like, this would be great, but, it'd be better if it was in December or November. For instance, Bengals and Chiefs, right? Bengals and Chiefs, Week 3 would have been, this is great. Now, Week 13, okay.
Let's go.
Dolphins 49ers, Week 3 would have been like, okay, it's pretty cool that the new coach of the Dolphins is already visiting the team that he used to be part of the staff. All right, now Week 13, now you know that the Dolphins are 8-3, and the 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback now for 11 weeks, and they now lead the NFC West. Now that takes on a whole different ball of wax. You take a look at the standings, as a matter of fact, and rubber's meeting road in the AFC with the Chiefs. No Tyreek Hill, no Big Whoop, right? 9-2. They won 9 of their first 11 anyway. A loss to the Indianapolis Colts that will still be a head-scratcher when the season's done, no matter what happens between now and the end of the season.
Knocked me out of Survivor, Rich.
I'm sure that did for a lot of people back in week number 3. And then the Buffalo Bills in week 6. But the Bills despite coming up with that big win, have lost 3 games, including a couple in a row that a lot of people didn't see coming against the Jets, right? And then the Minnesota Vikings. And they're sitting at 8-3 because the Dolphins beat them too.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dolphins are 8-3. What a surprise that is. The Titans have tightened up once again. They lead this division, and they're going to print a playoff ticket pretty darn soon because the team that's closest to them is now 4-7-1. The Ravens at 7-4 and the Bengals at 7-4. That's for the AFC North. The loser might make the wild card because you never know if the 6-5 Patriots and Chargers can get off the sniffing it list. And then there's the Jets surprising everyone at 7-4, arriving sooner in the wild card station. And a couple of weeks ago, had they beaten the Patriots in New England, they would have been in first place in the AFC East. Right now, they're the last wild card, and that's your AFC playoff picture. In the NFC playoff picture, you take a look at it, and it's been, I would say, the surprise team of the year. I saw the Eagles winning the East. I did not see them winning the East because they're the first member of the 10-win club by the end of November. And Jalen Hurts being an MVP candidate. We'll get to that in a moment. The Vikings, another surprise. We saw them win in week 1 against Green Bay, but needed to see more of that, and we didn't see more of that in the next week against the Eagles. They got curb stomped in Philadelphia. And since that loss, they've only lost once. The Dallas Cowboys came and got them and beat the tar out of them. And the Cowboys are your number 1 seed in the wild card right now, 5th seed overall, because they're 2 behind the Eagles. And they need the Eagles to lose one more time before Christmas. So when they face each other on Christmas weekend, the Cowboys will have a chance to even the record in the division against the Eagles in their season series and maybe have enough tie breaks in other categories to surpass the Eagles atop the standings. The Bucs are 5-6. We mentioned the 49ers moments ago leading the NFC West. I mean, 5-6 Buccaneers lead the NFC South because the Falcons are a half game behind them. And they've already lost to the Buccaneers. It looks as if Tom Brady will limp into the playoffs. Will it be his final season? We'll see how it all works out between now and the end of the season when we could see the Cowboys against the Bucs in a wild card round. And right now, as it currently stands, every team in the NFC East would be in the playoffs. Cowboys, Giants, Commanders are your wild card teams.
Has that ever happened? It hasn't, right?
No.
I think an entire division may have made it a long time ago. I don't know. We'll look at that.
The East, remember, was a powerhouse until the last,
But with every team making the playoffs, I can't remember that.
And there are the Seahawks. A lot of folks thought that they'd be right there with the Bears currently in the top 5 for the picks, picks in the draft. But the Seahawks have lost 2 in a row. As a matter of fact, they're beginning to lose a little bit of steam right now. So these are your standings currently right now as we enter December football. We played our last game in November. December football now beckons. First game of December football is Bills at Patriots. How big is that? How big is that? Bills have still yet to win a game in division.
That's hard to believe.
How big is that? How wild is that?
All right. So to clarify, has one division had all playoff teams? That would be a no, because the NFL, which in 1967, they had 4-team division winners went to the playoffs. And then after the merger, the league in 1970, they expanded it to 8 teams. And then in 78, they expanded to 10 teams. In 1990 to 12. And in 2020, just 2 years ago, expanded to 14. So, no, it has not happened. It was not mathematically possible for it to have happened until now. So, yes, we're in uncharted uncharted territory right now. The question will be is when you look at that, how bad will the Giants? It all depends on if the Giants can get 1 or 2 victories in this next 4-game stretch. If they do that, then they're going to be able to hold on. If they end up losing 2 to Washington and the Eagles, it is possible for Seattle to slip back in there in place, provided they end up getting a couple wins. But they still very likely that we could see that happen. All right, good people. that's all we have for you at this moment, because it's like 6:30 in the morning, and we'll be talking to you going down the road here. But as always, you know how we roll. Our folks here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the show with the Sports Report.